Right, the Reds, Monday mornings, talking Reds then. Me, Gareth Roberts, have got Damian Kavanagh with me, and only one thing really to talk about, isn't there, Damian? Yeah. And that is Liverpool deciding to furlough some non-playing staff. That came out over the weekend. It has been discussed ever since. 1,000,001 think pieces about it. It's all over the sport media. It's all over social media, as you would expect, really. What were your thoughts, mate, when you saw the news?
Hugely disappointed. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's flying in the face of all the good PR and good work and good spirited, community spirited attitudes that the club has been from top to bottom, really. You know, you look at Jurgen's come out, he was extremely gracious when the footy, was talked about being cancelled. He said if it saves one life, let's call it all off. You got Jordan Henderson running around, other captains, the players looking after the food banks, and then the match day staff getting looked after as well. And so we've got all these good things. And then this happens. I just don't get the logic of it, really.
Yeah, it's the timing of it as much as anything else for me. I mean, I've obviously seen everyone's arguments, read everyone's arguments, heard everyone's arguments, and obviously a lot of people will defend the club no matter what. I think we saw that, in the past when we've had various issues with the club, the ticket walkout, the copyright, and even back to Hicks and Gillette days. It's just the way some people's nature is over their support, if you like. But a lot of people are saying it's a government scheme, it's there, it's available. Liverpool are just another business. But as you say, I mean, we don't view them like that, do we? We never have, we never will, because we're so invested in our club. We've put everything into it. We've all paid a lot of money over a long period of time, and we feel like its decisions and what it does represents us in a way, and you can see that, can't you, on social media? Obviously, rival fans jumping on it straight away and all this kind of stuff. And when we saw, Tottenham do it, when we saw Newcastle do it, you thought Ashley, Levy, you kind of expected it from those characters, really. I think, as you've touched on, with our club, they've worked hard to basically come across as sound for a long time now. They've done a lot of stuff in the community, stuff with the food bank, stuff with schools, stuff with, people who can't get out and about, loads and loads of good stuff. And I think what's disappointing for me is that, you wonder, what does Jordan Henderson think? What does Jurgen Klopp think? What do the people who put all the hard work in behind the scenes think? Because this is a decision that you suspect has come from the very top of the club, the owners. And I think there'll be a lot, we can talk about the club as almost being like a homogenous mass, but it isn't. It's a load of individuals. And I think this decision doesn't represent the thoughts and feelings of a lot of those individuals.
Definitely. I mean, it's like you say, I'm just really deflated about it. The only good thing is, at least we're challenging it. At least we're not all just going along like sheep and saying it's sound. I was made up with the spirit of Shankly. They were straight there, weren't they? Questioning, what were the alternatives, Liverpool? They're asking them, were there any alternatives considered? And if they weren't considered, you should have done. And if they were dismissed, then why were they dismissed? It's got to be from on high. It's got to be from the people who own the club and, look at the old strategically fine. I mean, we're talking about a multi-million-pound business, profits and all that. And it's not an example to set. I don't like the way it's all been done. I mean, on Friday, the Premier League sort of sounded all right, didn't he? Sort of, let's do a donation to the NHS, quite right too. Let's make some provision for funding for lower down the football ladder, quite right too. And so why can't the clubs get together here and sort something else out? I mean, one of the things I would like to have seen from the league would have been to tell clubs, listen, look after this, don't be putting an unnecessary burden on the taxpayer. So, this furlough, and can you look after that within your wage structure? The players seem keen, there seems to be momentum for them to contribute somewhere. Well, the first thing they could have done, which I'm sure isn't a large part of the budget, would have been to say, we're going to look after this. No furloughing of the non-playing staff. We get that one done first, then we can talk about any other reductions. And it's just really badly managed, isn't it? And the only good thing going back to that is we do challenge the club. And in the past, when the club have been challenged, they have listened. They haven't always listened, but there have been occasions. And my fervent hope is that they listen to this and put their hands up, like with the ticket walkouts. They just put their hand up the next day, didn't they? Say, listen, we've got this wrong. We hear you. We're going to do it different. And I sincerely hope that that's going to be the case. But my fear is, unfortunately, and I don't get involved in the rival fans thing because I left that behind in the playground a long, long time ago. I think you should be constructive and honest about your team, and that we're all criticising the club quite right too here. But there's going to be a lot of other clubs who do the same, and so you're going to get the same fans who are going to be absolutely horrified, like Liverpool has killed their mother by doing this, and really reacting like that. And then it'll go silent when their own club does it. And my fear is that there's a trickle effect here. And Liverpool have looked at Spurs and thought, well, if it's good enough for them. And Newcastle and Norwich and Bournemouth have sort of gone, well, if it's good enough for Spurs. And Liverpool have gone, well, if it's good enough for Spurs. So basically we're going back, we're all criticising each other. But I think this has opened the door for other clubs now to say, well, it's all right for Liverpool to do it. They're the world champions. They can do it.
Yeah.
So Liverpool should be very conscious of the lead that it's got, not just as, a fundamental part of our community and our identity and, a representation of us as a people, which, they get the benefit of that. We identify with the club in that way. So we want the club to be the best representation of us. And they know that they, set examples. You look at, the players, we've talked about Henderson and that. You look at Alisson, he's a World Health Organization representative. You got Sadio Mane doing great things at home. You got all these things and all this positive influence that that these players can do. I'm sure everyone, going back to Jürgen, everyone's gutted about it, and quite right, they're getting called out about it. But we're not just the only ones, and I think other businesses, and you're looking at, what are we looking at? Weatherspoons? Are we looking at Virgin? Are we, places like that? They have done the same thing. And football is an easy target, and I think it's very disappointing on a grand level. And I think people should really look into the souls here and say, what's the right thing to do by the nation at the moment?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, from a PR perspective, from a reputational perspective, Liverpool, the 7th richest club in the world, made a profit of 42 million on the last figures. Obviously won the Champions League in the summer and were awarded a great figure of money for that as well. And as you say, what we've seen from the club up to this point has actually been really good. I mean, I thought it was fantastic how quickly they reacted to the idea that, the food banks obviously are going to miss out on thousands of people turning up at games and people donating food. So they were really quick to react, to do something about that. Players were on board, and Jordan in particular has done absolutely loads. Apparently I was reading some stuff there about the captain's meeting. He's one of the ones that's leading it and is coming across really well in it. And then all of a sudden, it's just the quickness to jump to it, to go to the government trough. Really, I mean, I think people understand, and I don't think Liverpool have explained it very well. Why have you gone now? Why are you doing it now? If Liverpool had said, if Liverpool had put something out and said, listen, right now, we're not going to do it. We don't think it's right. We don't think it's the right move. But there may come a point where we do need to do it, because if this drags on for months and months and months and months, which most people expect it will, then obviously I think everyone can get their heads around the fact that, loads of money is then missing. Do you know what I mean? And then if you've got the possibility still there, and it is still there, that, maybe the clubs have to pay back some money to the TV companies, then all of a sudden, you're really chipping heavily into some of those profits. And obviously what people will say from the other side of this perspective, and I've seen it, is that, they're saying, listen, those staff are getting 100% of their wages. But obviously, it's only Liverpool are only paying 20% of that now. Yeah. And for the savings that they're going to make on those staff, there's talk of it being around 1.5 million over the 3 months. You just think, in the grand scheme of things, was that really worth it? When you think about the money that football clubs, big companies, people in general pay on public relations, marketing, and Liverpool, all the stuff, this means more. And, you've got Peter Moore as well, going out doing interviews regularly, talking about Shankly, talking about socialism, talking about the identity of the club. This goes like that with all that, doesn't it?
It just flies totally in the face of all of those things. And like you say, financially, in the grand scheme of things, Liverpool can afford this. And I would much prefer Liverpool to have been collaboratively negotiating with the other members of its league and say, what can we all do together here? The fact that they've acted unilaterally, I don't like. And the fact that they've acted in the way that they have done, obviously, I hate. And like you say, why have they jumped so quick? You know, I'm sure there's negotiations going on in the background about different things that could be done. And maybe this is the thin end of the wedge. Maybe these negotiations haven't gone as well as we'd like. I don't know. But it's just like you say, it just fly. Absolutely, this means more. Nah. They haven't adhered to that one. And like I say, you know, we're doing the right thing by challenging them. And I personally, I'd love to, you know, I'm not bothered whether I ever meet the owners or not, but I'd love to see one of them just now and say, can you see what this means to us? This is an example you should be setting. You know, you're the representation of us as a community, as a global fan base. And, you know, this is against what we want. So please change it.
Yeah, we shall see how it develops. I mean, this has been our first sort of reaction to it. We're going to be talking about it in depth on this week's free podcast, which is also filmed. So it'll be up on here as a video, and it'll be in all the usual places as a podcast. So we've got a panel discussing that in about an hour or so. It'll be out later today. Some of the stuff that's out there today, Damian, there's a story in the Mirror this morning saying the Premier League are at an advanced stage in talks with the government over a return for football in June. Mirror Sport understands there's a tentative agreement for the top flight to resume behind closed doors after the 20 clubs mapped out a plan with senior officials. It talks about it being on the telly. Obviously, Sky and BT have got certain deals in place already, but it's saying there's a lot of games that ordinarily wouldn't be screened, and what they're talking about is screening these and maybe even on terrestrial TV. This is where, for me, it starts to still break down a little bit for me. I mean, we don't know what the situation will be in June at all. I know that they've got to try and plan and try and do something, and all businesses do the same thing. You know, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to, you know, look at plans all the time, how we keep on going and how we can possibly return to normal and how we would work with all that. But it's talking about people getting together. That's the concern. You know, we've got the social distancing rules in place. We're all locked down. We're all working from home. We're all following the government's advice. If they put footy back on and they're saying, well, we'll put it on telly and that means people won't gather around, I think that's a little bit naive, to be honest. I think, you know, it's a social sport, isn't it? We watch it in numbers. We watch it with friends. And I'm sure people will dive straight on the comments and be like, yeah, but, you know, you're just going to have to follow the rules. But people won't, though. I can be sure that, you know, if Liverpool are playing somewhere, wherever that may be, like there's been talk of it being in Birmingham and all the rest of it, people will go. People will go. People want to be there. People want to be by it. People want to try and get in. And, you know, this is where I think football can come back. I don't think now. This is where I'm starting to get to. I don't think it can come back until it is genuinely safe and is genuinely not going to put a strain on the NHS.
Well, that's the first thing, isn't it? I mean, I've kind of really just paused the whole football thing in my head. Just hasn't come into my mind at all. You know, it's the greatest thing in the world for us all to look forward to when all the important stuff is sorted out. And I think that's an extension of what you're saying. I think if, you know, you talk about playing in June, we all hope so. We all hope that the country is back in a better place and we can, you know, go about it a bit more of normality. But I think you're right. I think it just seems mad, doesn't it? Because if it's going to be safe for the footballers to play and them going to be in close contact with each other, and then all the officials that go with it, and all the TV camera people and that, if they're going to show that, then how then would it, if it's safe for all them, how is it not safe to gather more people? And then what you're saying there about people gathering together, I enjoyed last night. There's a few of us lads who go to Stanley together. We just got together on one of the Zoom it was. Neil recommended it to me, and I actually was able to work it. I think, you know, so it was quite simple, and we are a simple bunch. But there was about 8 of us just having a little hour together last night, having a bevy, and I was like, well, we could end up watching the match like this. We could end up watching Liverpool winning the league like this, you know, when the time's right. But logistically, people are going to go round to each other's houses if they can't get in the house. And that just encourages people. So football's dead important, but it's too soon. It's too soon. The country's got to be in a much better state, and we just don't know how long it is. But I wouldn't criticise the league for trying to make some contingencies and make sure it's ready to go. So it's one of them. But I very much watch this space. I can't see it coming back in June. I hope it does, and I hope with my whole heart. You know, I'd be prepared to hang on, say, you know, September or whenever it is or further. Say, listen, we're going to go back to the match now, and we're all going to watch football together, and we're going to enjoy the great celebration of us being a community, association football, because we associate together and celebrate the game together. And just even turning up, going to watch Liverpool lose, it'll be great, won't it? Just to be there and, with the fans and everything. But the strain on the NHS, you're gonna have to have medical people on standby. What if someone breaks their leg? What if more than one person has a horrific injury in the game? Logistically, it seems quite a way off at the moment, doesn't it?
I mean, I get it in that obviously what they're saying around it really is that they could test everyone who's going to be in that space. So they could test the players, the managers, the coaches, the TV people, all the people who would need to be there. And obviously, if you were instead talking about when can you next have 55,000 people in one place like you would have at Anfield, obviously that's a completely different scenario. I'm getting a little bit sad about it, I've got to be honest, in that, there is now a creeping acceptance that it'll be behind closed doors. I wrote something about it last week. I just think, football, as we're saying here, it is a social thing. It's part of our lives because we share it with our mates, with our families, and even people, that I'm sure you're the same, like wherever you are in the ground, you've got to know those people who are around you as well. And, you're just randomly put with them, aren't you? But because you're there, because you've got a season ticket, you see them every other week, you end up getting to know them. And I really get on with some of the people by me at the match, and I miss them as well. And sort of the idea that, after the 3 decades of waiting, hope and dreaming for this league title, the idea that it's basically a TV programme when it happens, I don't really like the idea of that.
No, I don't like the idea of it. You're quite right as well about who you associate with the matches. I love Block 202. It's absolutely great. It's funny. It's quick. You don't make a mistake in there. It's all it's all about that. The jangling and that. And so, like you say, to turn it into a TV program, it would be very sad. But we're living in strange times, aren't we? And we've just got to be pragmatic about it. Now, if the alternative is, listen, the season's not going to get finished, or it gets finished behind closed doors, I know which option I'd take.
Yeah.
And as much as I would love to see Liverpool win the league while I'm there in the flesh with those people around me, with all those people before the game and after the game and whatever have you, of course, it will be a huge anti-climax to an extent. But I'll tell you what, if the league's going to be won behind closed doors, I pick Liverpool, who I want to win it. And I also think that we're in a good place and we can go and win it again. Maybe it'll drive the club on again to say, well, okay, we've won it under different circumstances. Let's win it under the normal circumstances now. Maybe that would be the next mission. It's weird, isn't it? I would never have contemplated the possibility of watching behind closed doors and thinking it was any use. But if we're all going to be locked in the house for the next few months and it's going to turn into autumn, something for people to look forward to, something entertaining to watch, some top quality sport. Okay, I'll be missing the background, the noise and the fervence and the colour. I mean, you can imagine what the next home matches for all clubs are going to be like when we're all allowed back in together. It's going to be an explosion, isn't it? It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. Just going out on a bevy on a Friday night or whatever it is, or being able to meet your family. It's going to be fantastic, and that's going to keep us all going. And in the meantime, if we're going to watch some behind closed doors, top quality competitive footy, then so be it. If that's part of the getting people together and part of the keeping people going psychologically, then I'm prepared to accept it. Yeah, and it's disappointing, so we'll just have to win it again the following season.
Yeah, I like the thinking there. I mean, it is interesting, isn't it, that in this report it mentions straight away that the governments are involved in these talks, and we touched on it before. You're touching on it there that football is part, a massive part of lots and lots of people's lives. We're seeing that every day, and that despite what's going on all around us, and we all know what's going on around us, and it is grim. People are still looking around for a footy fix. They're still they want to every day there's a story, even when there's not really a story, because the journalists are trying to meet that need. Obviously now you got like the BBC showing old football matches and putting podcasts out about top 10 goalies in the Premier League or whatever. Yeah. And it's like it's getting near the bottom of the barrel already, I think, a little bit. And so I know what you're saying, and that and obviously the government must do as well, in that they will reach a point with all this. And I don't think we're there yet, but people will get sick and tired of following these rules, of being behind closed doors, of doing each other's heads in and all that. So as you say, if they can somehow put something on to entertain the nation, to take your mind off, something to talk about as well. then that's massive, isn't it, for the sort of the morale of the country?
Morale's important, in life, full stop, isn't it? And like you say, that entertainment's something to look forward to. You look at all societies, going back to the Romans, they put entertainment on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying we should set the lions on people, or anything like that, behind closed doors. But, we go for another couple of months, and who knows what we'll be desperate for. But yeah, like I say, normally I would never count it and I'd say, listen, it's a game of the people. And then when it's all ready to go, then we'll do it. But if it's part of the medicine and it gets us to where we need to get to, then, I'm prepared to listen. I'm not saying I accept it yet, but I'm prepared to listen to it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we will be doing stuff all the way through, as I keep saying when we're doing these shows. We are carrying on as best as we can. We're putting video content out. We're putting podcasts out. We're still putting stuff on the website too. There's something we put out yesterday as well, if you missed that one. And it was something a little bit different. We got a psychologist, Bradley Bush, who we did the Mind Games series with. And we just had a chat about staying sane during this whole coronavirus crisis. It was good, and quite a few people seem to have watched it already. I just thought I'd give it a little plug on here because I think it's out there, it's free, it's on our YouTube channel, and it's not about footy per se. It's more just about, little things you can do in your life to stay on track, to keep your mental well-being where it should be and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important. It's important we talk about that.
Yeah, it is. That's great, that. I didn't get onto that, so I'll have a look at that later. I mean, this is the most important thing, and that's going back to saying about whether football should be entertaining or not. I've just got to say, by the way, and obviously I'd be called biased, but I think, yourself there, Gareth, and all the others, the Anfield Rap, the shows have been really upbeat, and, your hands are tied behind your back somewhat here, but I'd just like to say well done. I've watched a bit more recently because we've got that little bit more time, and things are upbeat, and we all know what the important stuff is, and we're talking about the next important stuff when everything's right. And I like the idea of people getting, what you just mentioned there about, hints and tips about, making sure you manage your mental health while we're in this state. That's a great thing to do.
Cheers, La, and good to see your face. Good to see you smile.
Same
missed you as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, missed you.
And we will be back. We will be back sometime. There will be good days ahead where we're all back in the studio having a laugh, talking about the Reds, talking about beers, talking about sunshine on our face and all that kind of stuff. That's what we should all be doing. Looking forward to those days again. This has been today's Talking Reds. We'll get Damian on again. He was great, wasn't he? Up the Reds.